Hey guys, this is Sapphire Raven here, bringing you Let's Play Monster Rancher for the original PlayStation. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and actually start a new game here. Just want to check out something real quick. Okay. So, we'll start a new game, so you guys go ahead and press the opening here, but of course I'm going to actually do a transition to my actual current data so we can actually get some money and whatnot and what have you. So, now this is going to be more of an instructional kind of Let's Play, so I can kind of tell you how to raise a monster and, you know, what monsters excel at and what they're really bad at doing as well as talk about the breeds and the sub-breeds and whatnot. So let's go ahead and get started and check out the new game. Alright, and here's where you would enter in your name. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and do my actual name here. That's when we get a letter from Fimba. So basically, I'm now, congratulations, this is to certify you as a monster breeder. Please visit Fimba in the first week of April. Yes, this game actually does not go by like days, it actually goes in weeks. That's kind of how the Monster Rancher series always works. So per month, basically, you have 4 weeks. Your monster does, I'll get to that in a little bit, but basically it works on a per week basis. Alright, I'll wait here. That's right, ace the exam. For the Let's Play sake, I'm going to go ahead and say no, so I can explain it to you. You don't really have a choice anyways, but yeah, I understand. You'll see Holly around a lot. Now, for people who remember the Canadian TV show, Holly was one of the main characters in the actual TV show. I grew up with Monster Rancher, both the TV show and the game, so I'm very well aware of her. Of course I'll trust you. Of course, Holly's going to talk to you for a little bit. And we will go ahead and head into town in just a moment. Yeah, the opening has a lot of chatting, so I'm going to be kind of silent to a lot of this here, so just heads up. I'll explain the official tournaments a little bit later once we actually get into raising our monster here. And Teska really is no pushover. As Teska is saying, yes, you can actually use your own CDs to actually get monsters, but again, I'll explain that a little bit later. Be as good as he was, I'll be way better. Alright, so here is town, actually. You've got your arena and all the other such places here. It kind of looks like Rome, but it's not really Rome. Anyways. Alright, and also, Holly does explain to you the help button, which would be your circle button, or O, however you want to pronounce it. It gives you some good information, but I pretty much know it, so I can explain it to you guys anyway. So, we're in the year 1000, and this is April week 1. So we have our choices here. We have the market, the shrine, the laboratory. You have data, so you can go ahead and get information on your monster, your breeder ranking, and the book, which I'll get to later. You can save and load your data. I think it's just save your data, and then you can go to your ranch. Of course, you can't go to the ranch without your without having a monster. So let's go ahead and get started with getting a monster here. Now, I'm just going to show you some examples. I already have my monster prepared, so let's go ahead and jump in here. So at the market, you get you get basic monsters, and by basic we mean the stats are just completely normal. They're not abnormal, and skills are just your basic first opening skills with monsters there. So in the market, now this one only has 3 specific monsters here. You have a dino, a tiger, and a Suezo. Now I'm gonna go ahead and go into these 3 because these are your 3 real basic ones that you'll come across a lot. Now these are just purebred monsters. You have the purebred dino. Dinos are very basic creatures. They are power type creatures. They have mostly power attacks. They do have a few intelligence attacks, but primarily you want to use those monsters for power attacks, so you will raise those. Again, stats, I'll get into that a little bit later. They're not good in the life department. They're primarily power. I mean, you can raise their stats, but their stat increases is really heavily weighed on power. Tigers, they're more of your hit and run kind of monsters. They're not too good in the power, or the purebred tigers, that is. They're not too good in the power or the intelligence department. They're kind of average. But where they excel is skill and speed, to basically hit and not be hit. They dislike pretty much any sort of life gaining, unless their subbreed is something that likes life, which I'll list those monsters later. And basically, skill and speed, that's what tigers are known for. Now Suezos, these are a little bit of a pain in the ass to raise because of the way that they like to act. I'll get into demeanors and such forth later as well. Suezos are more mainly intelligence-based creatures in this game. They like to mess with will, which I will get into a little bit later as well. But their attacks really focus on staggering your opponent. They're primarily focused on intelligence. They do somewhat like power. They're not very defensive. None of these 3 creatures really have defense as purebreds. None of them really like life either. But these are the 3 basic monsters here that you can actually get. So, I'm not interested in any of those 3, because like I said, I already have the monster that I want. Now at the shrine, you can basically generate a monster from, your favorite CDs. Now, the CDs in particular that they mean. Now this game was made in 1997. So the CDs that you could actually use, you could not use DVDs, you can't use burned CDs, well, to an extent you can't use burned CDs. Burned CDs have a little bit of an issue with the coding, how the game actually reads the disc. But how you actually do it is any music CDs will work. Any computer CDs that are like older, like your America Onlines or your NetZero CDs, older computer CD discs that aren't DVD types will work. Any original PlayStation discs will work. The ones that are black labeled on the bottom. And the older PS2 games, the ones that were blue covered on the bottom, could actually be read by this game. I think, if it's not the second game. But nonetheless, those are the ones that actually do work, to my knowledge. Now, I don't have very many PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 1 games, as I've used PS2 and PS3 games, but I do have a good amount to actually work with, and of course I do have some computer disks my family does have also that I can actually snag up and just hunt for them. But nonetheless, how it works is you go to the shrine, and since I'll just go ahead and use the example of the Monster Rancher 1 disc actually, so yes, I would like to try. Now what's going to happen is your PlayStation 2 is going to stop, or your PlayStation or however you're playing with it. It's going to stop running. This means your CD will stop spinning. So what they ask you to do is you can actually at this time put in a different CD. So you would open up your PlayStation or your PlayStation 2, pop out Monster Rancher for just a brief moment, and put in your disc, and then press close down. Of course, close down the tray, and then hit X. So for this example, I'll say I did it, and I hit X. Now, since this is the Monster Rancher disc, well, okay, I forgot. Monster Rancher 2 does that, not Monster Rancher 1. But once your PlayStation is done reading the disc, it'll tell you, hey, put Monster Rancher back in and hit X, which I've done now, and it'll say one of two different things. It'll either say this, here is the big moment, or it'll say, I'm sorry, we can't give you this monster, your rank's not high enough, or something along those lines. But yeah, so here's the big moment. Let's see what we got. Well, let's go ahead and say hello to Rover. I totally forgot Rover was actually on the Monster Rancher 1 disc for Monster Rancher 1. Very reliable tiger, among one of my favorite tiger breeds. He is a main breed tiger and sub-breed hare. Let's go ahead and get to the monster stats here. Of course, he's going to show up in the city, have a little fun there. Holly actually has a comment. She has like 4 or 5 different comments specific to monsters, like, oh, that's an odd-looking monster, or that's a good-looking monster, or something along those lines. Depending on the type of monster it is, she'll have a different saying for it. But at this point, you got to give it a name. For this example, I'm just going to name it as Rover, just to get it out of the way. Of course, don't press start, you'll pause. The fast way to do it is after you put in your name, just hit circle. And she'll confirm that's the name you want. You say no, you rename it. I'm just saying yes for this. So now it's going to go ahead and go back to the city here. So now that we have a monster, a few other options are open up here to us. We have the lab, which I'll go ahead and hit circle for. Here you can combine monsters, for a fee. It's 500 gold. You can store them. Basically, you freeze them if they're old, or if you're going to combine them, etc. Now for the etc., let me go ahead and go into the lab real fast. Alright, so in the lab, you can... can't press anything. Okay, in the lab, you can combine monsters, which you have to have 2 frozen monsters to do it. I'll have to show that at a later time, so I'm not going to do it right now. You can freeze the current monster that you have. You can revive a frozen monster, or you can delete frozen monsters. Basically say you don't really want them anymore because they're pretty much useless, or just don't find it to be attractive in any way, shape, or form. Once they're deleted, they're gone permanently. You can also go to the market, I forgot when you have a monster, and basically they can take your monster off your hands. Now in the second game, they actually will give you money for the monster based on its years and how high in rank it got. It's not a lot of money, but basically if you're crunched for money, which I'll explain to you also when I get to the ranch in the next episode, yeah. That's how that works. Now let's go to the data. Now data in particular, you have 3 different choices. You have monster, which you can check the monster stats. That's right, I forgot how craptastic this monster actually is, but it does solidify my reasonings here. Again, since this is a tiger main breed, its life is going to be really low. Now it also has the hare subbreed. The hare subbreed hates life. Oh god, it hates life. But all hair subbreeds are power monsters as well, so we have a match there between power and power between Tiger and Hair. So power stats will be raised pretty fast, actually. Both breeds hate defense. Basically, defense is your defense versus intelligence and power attacks. The higher it is, the less damage you take, of course. Skill is how well you actually hit. Now, it's not based off of the number. It's actually based off of the levels. And then they kind of factor in. Then it factors in, hit percentage based on that, based on the move and the move's skill rate, as well as your opponent's speed. Now, in speed, that's also level based as well against your opponent's skill. The higher the speed, the less chance you have a chance of getting hit. Now, intelligence is basically the counteraction to power. So let's go ahead and move on here. You have fame and loyalty. Fame, basically, how famous your monster is getting based on battles. The higher your fame, the higher chance your monster can actually get a critical hit against your opponent. You have loyalty, which basically, how does the monster feel against you? If it's down low, it'll act around in battle. It may not listen to you. It may fail. It may fail its skill raises, etc. And then style. Style is a little bit more complicated. I'll get to that in the next episode. So let's go ahead and move on to the next page here, which is basically your monster's statuses in battle, as well as its health. You have your win-loss record and your knockout record, your percentage rate, and prize. What prize is how much money this monster has won for you in all of its battles. You have runaway, hurt, and sickness. Basically, if you mistreat your monster, it may run away from you. Monsters can get hurt during battles, and sicknesses can also happen in a few different ways. There's either what do they call it in this game? Oh, training. In training, they can actually come back either sick, they can get lost, which is considered runaway, or they can actually get hurt. Sickness is probably the worst thing that could actually happen to your monster, because they can be out for almost 2 to 3 months, and that also lessens their age, as you see in the bottom right corner there. Now, it raises it by years and months. It doesn't go by days. So, and the last page is the move list. So we'll go ahead and start with Bite. Now we have 2 different types here. You have your power attacks, which are actually going to be in yellow, so that'll tell you, hey, it's a power attack that focuses on your power. And then the other ones will be green, which will be your intelligence attacks, which will be focused on your intelligence stat. The next thing is Con Will, how much willpower it actually takes for your monster to perform this move. Now this takes 12. You have a maximum of 99 in battle. That refills depending on your monster, either really fast or really slow. Tigers are kind of in the middle. With a hair breed, they actually just speed up a little bit, but I'll get into that kind of stuff a little bit later. It's complicated. Your hit percentage, it ranks anywhere from E to S. S being the best, E being the worst. Same goes for damage. Now there's another one that says Take Will. Basically this means how much willpower is lost against your opponent if the move actually successfully hits. So, starting with Bite. Bite is a basic attack for Tigers. They have a pretty good hit rating, but it's low damage. Scratch has a lesser chance to hit than Bite, but it deals more damage than Bite. With D, of course, like I said, E is the worst, S being the best. So it goes S, A, B, C, D, E. And then you have 1, 2, which pretty much has the same hit percentage as Scratch, and it does the same damage as Scratch, but it also takes will. Takes away willpower. E, you're probably looking anywhere between like 1 to 4 willpower taken away from the monster. Now, that can be beneficial, but it can also be not so much. Monsters that have fast will recovery, like pixies, hares, those are the only 2 that really come to mind that have the fastest recovery rate. Tigers, like I said, are in the middle. Suezos are kind of in the middle. Dinos are actually a little bit slow if they're, purebred. There's other monsters also, which I can go into explanation a little bit later as well. That basically just shrug off the 1 to 4 will that they lose, because of their fast recovery rate. Slower monsters like golems and monols and gels, that can affect them really bad because their willpower recovery is extremely slow. So there's a give and take with certain monsters that you have. Some have fast recovery rate, but their stats don't really go so fast, or they're in battle they can't take a hit, like pixies or tigers or hares. Whereas there's more sturdier monsters who have a slower recovery rate, but they have more power, like golems, for instance, which I despise in this game, and such forth and so on. But nonetheless, that pretty much covers monsters there. In the next episode, we'll go ahead and go to the ranch, and I'll go ahead and go into some explanation, but we'll be meeting somebody else that's not Rover. So say farewell to Rover for now, guys, and with that, this is Sapphire Raven signing off. Thank you very much for joining me in this episode of Monster Rancher, and thanks so much, guys. Take care, and see you later. Peace.